Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 6 of Tsurune. I have other things I could be watching and catching up on, but you know what? As soon as Tsurune's new episode comes out, I wait a day and I'm like, I need to catch up on this and this, and then I wait another day and people are posting stuff in the Discord and black boxing it, and I'm like, I want to read it. So then it just gets me because I have other things I need to record that are going to come out next week on Patreon that I should probably get to, but I'm like, but first Tsurune. Because last episode was so good. Oh my gosh. Last episode, oh, my heart. I just was on cloud 9 for episode 5. Episode 5 was so darn good. It was amazing getting Kaido and Nanao's relationship, their friendship. I was like, oh my gosh. It was just good stuff. So we're on episode 6. We are not quite at the halfway point. We have, which I love. I love that with a lot of these series, we have 13 episodes this season. So episode 6 is not quite the halfway point. We're going to sneak by. So I'm really excited about that. But I do have some comments before we dive into this. Wushin Sweebian said that way back a few episodes ago, specifically in episode 5, that the string breaking of Nanao's bow, you know, the theme of strings breaking and hearts reconnecting, kind of like what happens with Nanao and Kaido, it sounds kind of familiar, like, I don't know, maybe something that's happened in another series, it's a BL given. And I was like, oh, because yeah, the whole thing with Mafuyu's guitar string breaking, Uenoyama helping him to fix it. If you've not seen Given, when you're done watching this, go find it because it's amazing. But I do like that similarity and that parallel of themes. I think that's a stroke of genius. I love it. That whole thing with them just ending it kind of in a drawl and saying that they're going to be in a rivalry forever. I love. Also, I like the idea that we bookend episode 5 with a sunset. We start out with the sunset where Nanao and Kaido first establish their rivalry against one another, and then we bookend it with the sunset against each other as teenagers saying we're going to keep this going. So I feel like it's not the last time they're going to have a one-on-one competition with each other. I feel like that's going to happen their whole lives. So I think that's really adorable. Morales talked about Sei hearing the different sounds of the bow could be related to her having a pianist ear. That she plays piano, she's able to pick up on different sounds. So her being classically trained in piano allows her to pick up those sounds as well. And I'm like, yet another prodigy, right? Another prodigy. But I like Sei. I like her. She's a great foil to Shu because Shu is so quiet and reserved and kind of doesn't outwardly emote different expressions, and Sei is very open. She's just kind of like, oh, Sei and Ryohei are very similar, which is why I think they hit it off so well, because Ryohei is very open and expressive, and Sei kind of isn't afraid to be that way either, whereas Ryohei's sister and Shu seem to be kind of cut off. Like, not to say that they can't be emotional or that they don't have emotions, but that they're just not expressing them, right? So I thought that was interesting. And then Aaron talking about Seiya from episode 3. I really liked this. That Seiya seems to be in a much better place this season. And I like the idea that when Kaido tries to like dig at him, Seiya's just kind of like, because at this point Seiya's like, Shu's comment was much more biting than yours. So yours doesn't really affect me. I feel like Seiya is more concerned about Minato being like wooed by Kaido and being distracted by him than anything. So I thought that was really neat. But yeah, I really am excited for Tsurune. This season has been absolutely gorgeous. It's the best animated show of the season. There's no question. I mean, I like Bungo Stray Dogs animation with Bones. I like that, but no, this one's the best. Definitely so far. Even beating out Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man was good, but the animation from KyoAni cannot be beat. Not possible. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen this episode. I hope you all are too. But we are going to start Tsurune episode 6. And we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, this episode was so cute. Oh my gosh, there's like some shipping stuff. There was Masa and Minato, I tell ya. I tell ya. But this episode was so cute. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad. I feel like if there's any criticism that the first season could have gotten, it is that the girls in the first season kind of took a back seat to the boys and didn't really have like any coverage of what they did. And that's kind of, I know a lot of people, especially in the Crunchyroll comments, because that's where I watched season 1, there's a lot of people in the Crunchyroll comments I would go to after the fact, just to look at occasionally. And a lot of the complaints were that they're like, the girls don't do anything. It never bothered me in season 1 because I think when you walk into it, you're like, you know that it's going to follow the boys. It is, because it's not a romance. The series isn't romance. There's a lot of shipping in it. There's a lot of BL elements. But it's not a romance necessarily. And so I didn't feel like the girls, and what I am glad about this series is that the girls' part is not built as romantic, right? None of the boys are trying to date the girls. I'll talk about that briefly when we get to it, but none of them are trying to date the girls. They're not trying to like woo them over anything. It's not that drama there. The girls, if anything, the girls have it together. They're the smoothest ship sailing, and they're looking at the boys like, get your act together. Quit being dramatic divas. You teenage boys, and get it together. That's the funny part, is the girls all have it fine. They get along great. They're just like, can you boys like clean this up and figure this out? It's great. But I'm glad that they are not romantic subplots for any of the characters. I'm glad there's no love triangle of two guys liking the same girl on the team. I'm glad there's none of that garbage. It's just all, we got enough of that with the boys. We don't need, but not on Kazemai itself, but with Shu and Nikaido and everything else. But I'm glad that they get some spotlight in this episode. I'm glad that they finally, that they're showing, I'm glad that's a plot point that paid off. It paid off a lot sooner than I thought. I thought that the whole summer tournament thing would come later. I thought I figured the girls would eventually do it, but I figured it was going to be like an end of the season, we'll touch base and show like a little montage of what that was like. I didn't think we were going to get a whole episode about it. And it kind of makes sense that this is the halfway point now of the season. We're at the halfway point. This episode here set up that the girls are getting along great. They're working well together. Minato's ready to come back on the field. He's finally to the point where Masa thinks that he's able to do so. We get a little bit more Nikaido's teacher and his relation with Seonji. There's little stuff in this episode that sets stuff up for the rest of the season. And we're at the halfway point, so it should be doing that at this stage of the game. So I like it, but there's so much in this episode I really enjoyed. I really did. And then so Ikiai is something that's been talked about in this series, and it's the idea of them all, it's a breathing style, but it's the idea that they're all breathing as one. They're all individual, but they all work together seamlessly as a team. And Minato's teacher, she's like, you've done this before. You guys did it. Did you not realize you did it? And they're all kind of like, oh, I guess we did. She's like, baka boys. But yeah, I love that we get this focus on the girls, that each of them are a team. They assist each other. They work as one. A grander level of breathing. Oh, get that back out there. I like that Ryohei's like, is it a riddle? And they're like, he wouldn't just say that for no reason, right? He wants us to figure it out for themselves. Again, these are high school boys. They're like, we just, what? The power of nakama, teamwork? What's going on? And so Masa talking to all three of them. Seo's really tall. She's like as tall as Masa, which is great. I love that Yuna is surprisingly sassy. Like, she's like, go get the arrows, boys, and do this. Like, coming into this series, I figured Yuna would be the very quiet one, but she's kind of like, even though she's the start, like Inogi, she kind of has like a now sass to her. It's great. And Seo has like a Shu Seiya vibe, even though she's in Minato's position. And then now, I'm going to call her Now from now on, because her last name is just always gets me, Shiragiku. I want to say Shigaraki, and it just messes up every time. So Now is much better. Mm-hmm. And so Seiya's like, we got to get you back on the range. And Minato's like, I know. He's like, I'm almost ready, I feel. And so then Minato says, he's like, I'm going to show Masa what I'm made of. Like, Minato is so intense. Like, when he's at the archery range and he's just staring at them and, like, his eyes are like, he's just, like, tracking any movement. And Ryohei's like, buddy, you're obsessed with archery. Like, you're obsessed with Kyudo. Like, Minato is surprisingly intense, but it's a different intensity than, say, like Haru or Kakaru from Run with the Wind. It's a different type of intensity. It's almost like a soft intensity, which fits Kyudo pretty well. But yeah, he has this like super driven focus, but he's also kind of aware around him that people are watching. It's sometimes, like not when they're at the tournament though, he's like obsessed. And so Masa, I'm actually surprised with Masa, if I'm being honest. I didn't know how Masa would keep up with the coach business. But Masa is very dedicated to being like, no, you think you're good and you want to get better, fine. But if you want to get better, you need to focus on what's up with you. You don't need to try to imitate somebody else. Don't try copying people. Make yourself better, and then that will show. Like, you don't have to try to copy someone to be a better archer. And so he's saying, don't drop your right elbow. Your center of balance is too far forward. Your wrist is turned in too much. And then Minato's like, okay. And he's like, I like that Masa looks at him like, am I wrong? I like that Masa looks at him like, okay, I'm giving you this advice. Am I wrong? Are you going to backtalk me? And Minato's like, no. Because that's hard, right? You know, everybody has a sense of pride, and you don't want to admit sometimes that you're wrong about something, but it's like, okay, well then, am I wrong? Prove me wrong. It's like, it's very fun. I love it. He's like, thank you. And Masa's like, okay, that's right. And so the girls all doing good. Now you all have on my radar to watch Seiya and Kaido. Now that Seiya and Kaido are on my radar, we see in this scene that the girls are like, Yuna's like, I'm so excited. And Ryohei and Nana are talking to them. Seiya and Kaido are just kind of off to themselves looking at Minato, right? Like, we gotta watch this boy and make sure he's okay. And they both kind of look at each other. So now y'all have Kaido and Seiya on my radar. I love that a lot. So then they talk about the public tournament coming up for teams of 3, and Yuna's so excited that they're all going to compete. And she just has the cutest little face. And Nao's like, can you come root for us? And I was like, yes, I want to come root for you. I want to come see a Kyudo tournament. I'll be there. I love their expressions. Like, Seiya and Nao are like, oh, cool. And Yuna's like, oh, good. Nanao's like, I'm not surprised. Ryohei's like, oh my God, he's intense. And Kaido's like, really? I love Seiya's expressions in this episode. Where he's just like, why am I not surprised? Like, Seiya's really grown on me in this season. He has. I liked him last season, but Seiya's got like a sass to him, and now that he's doing his own thing, he's not like trying to like just follow Minato. It's great. And Masa's like, he is aching for Kyudo. He is desperate for it, right? Okay. Get past this OP here and go there. All right. So yeah, we get to this tournament. It feels like a festival. But before then, we get to see the girls. We don't get to see Seo's room. I don't know if we've seen it. I don't think we've seen it in season 1. But now has like a beautiful, like very traditional Japanese style house. She has like all of the like shutting doors and everything. I love that there's like all the plants everywhere. It's very pastel and pretty. And yeah, it's very much like delicate. It feels delicate, kind of like, and she has like the robe and everything. Like, that's just now. But then she gets up and she's like, okay! Like, it's so cute. She reminds me of Rei from Sailor Moon. She just kind of has that vibe, but like a softer Rei, right? Meanwhile, Yuna like comes out with like the t-shirt on and is just like, hey, morning. And then her mom's sitting there making breakfast. I like that they have like the tree with the apple on the wall like painted on. That's really cute. The bento box is adorable with the little egg and the rice with the soy sauce that makes a target. Shut up. That is so freaking cute. That is adorable. I love that. Her mom's masterpiece. And then there's a corgi. There's a corgi being walked outside. Awesome. Kiwani animating corgis. Do it. But Seo, I joked that she would see Oikawa as she was running by. Why not? But then we have Noah. I'm gonna get her wrong. I'm gonna get her first name wrong. Noah saying, woke up refreshed and ready today in tip-top condition. Let's do our best. And then Yuna says, check out Mama's masterpiece. I'm pumped already. And then Rika, Seiya, weather's great today, perfect for Kyudo. I can't wait. And then I love Yuna very much doing like Nanao, and then Noah too. It's awesome. I love it. Cute. And then they all show up there, and Ryohei's like, this place is awesome. I like that this tournament is a public tournament, so it's all very much like anybody can do it, like any age bracket. I like that there's a lot of senior archers there. It's really cool. And them all getting the drinks and everything. Everybody's fashion is so on point in this series. I love it. Like Nanao's hoodie, I want it. Kaido with the outfit looks very much like something he would wear. Like they all just, their fashion fits them so well. They all have their little bags. Back in junior high on a team with Seiya and Shu. Yeah, I like, he's like, a team you tricked us into. I just like this Seiya, again, his expressions. I feel like in the last season, Seiya was drawn so reserved and kind of restrained because he was so nervous all the time about what Minato would think of him saying. And there was that kind of awkward tension between the two of them. But now that tension's over, like Seiya, he's kind of sassy. And he's just like, yeah, you tricked us in that team, remember? Like, he just looks so exasperated, like, Minato. Like, just... It's great. And I was like, team tricked? What? What are you talking about? And then, of course, back then, Minato was like, well, don't you want to join? And back then, Seiya was like, fine, what time are we going? And then he shows up and Shu's there. And he's like, oh, well, I just happened to see this tournament the day we're supposed to practice, so why not we do it? But I like that Minato's like, well, you and Shu didn't talk to one another. So I wanted us to spend this time together. I wanted us to get to be closer friends. And it's like, Minato. I like that Nanao stands up. He's like, you're such a jerk, Minato, tricking them. He's like, how could you use your friends like that? Like, he's so dramatic. He's like, I wasn't using them. He's like, I just wanted them to talk to one another and become better friends. And Seiya's like, well, it worked. We did start talking to each other after that. I wanted us to do something together. He's like, I guess it did work in getting us talking. Not that we get along, but... What Shu just did where he, like, tries to drink the drink and he, like, is clumsy and doesn't do it. I do that all the time, so that's actually hilarious that Shu slips up, right? And they just kind of, like, laugh and have a good moment there. That's nice. And they said it was the first year of junior high. And Kaido said he was there in the individuals tournament, which... makes sense because what we know from Kaido in the last episode, he was probably going through a rough patch with his team then, so he entered the public tournament as an individual. It's a nice little continuity there. I like it. And then Ryohei is like, you mean you guys have all done this before? That's no fair. I should sign up to get caught up too. And then Minato gives this like information. He says, I've never told you before, but my mother competed in this tournament back in the day. And we see the mom with the kid, and they're both in that outfit. So his mom was an archer. Okay. He's like, that's why I wanted to shoot here. And it shows her, like, with the outfit and everything on, her hair pulled back. Hijimori Kyudo range. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to be looking for, like, Hijimori and see if we see that Kyudo range anywhere. What if his mother knew Nikaido's teacher? What if that was a thing? What if they knew each other? I'm like, if they knew each other and that's how Minato connects with Nikaido on that level, no. That could happen. What if, because Shu and Minato's teacher, she did say she did not teach Nikaido's mentor because his form was too pretty and she didn't want to change it. What if he competed or was on the same range as her? I will lose it. I will absolutely lose it if that's the case. But I love that his mother was an archer. We get confirmation of it. We see her in it. You kind of suspected she maybe did do Kyudo because she knew about Tsurune, but it was never like confirmed. But now that we see it, And then Seiya saying, this is the first I've heard about it. You should have said so back then. He's like, I don't know. It just felt kind of embarrassing. Oh, Minato, quit being like the most perfect. Quit doing that. Quit just being the most perfect individual. I feel like in that moment, Seiya feels a little bit like, oh, you told me this before you told Shu? Okay. I don't feel like Seiya's petty like that, but I do feel like in that moment, Seiya kind of feels like, oh, you chose to tell me first. Like that's what kind of friends we are. Okay. All right, I'll take it. Like, I like that. I like that him accepting that little bit of information from Minato. I feel like Seiya kind of treasures it, but Seiya's also kind of sassy, so I could also feel him being like, "Oh, you told me this before, Shu? No biggie." I love it. I love it. So yeah, Minato just being a perfect individual. Stop. And the girls I love that they have the little mascot on the Kyudo range. It's cute. Nakazaki, seeing him with their phones. I love that. Again, Kiyoani's animation is so good that even when they take photos, it instantly filters. Like, what animation studio has a filter on the phone in the animation? Best animated show. It's just so good. And he's like, oh, did you get your stuff wrapped up all right? And I love that the grips match their cases. Like, girls on point. I love it. But the colors don't match. The colors are different, so it's fitting. And then Rin shows up. And he's like, oh, Masa-san. He's like, oh, there they are. Oh, yeah, Seiya's got the camera ready to go. And they wanted to go look around and everything. Noah's never been here before. This part I wanted to talk about, where Ryohei is like, oh, he's like, it feels like a festival, doesn't it? She's like, yeah. In that moment, it hit me that Ryohei is going to be like the best husband and the best partner to someone. Right? Ryohei's gonna be the best partner because he's just so darn nice. Yeah, he's just so sweet. I don't think any of these guys would ever date and or marry any of these girls, but if anybody is going to, it's going to be Ryohei. Seiya, Kaido, Nanao, I feel like, nah, they're probably not, but if any of our boys would have a romantic relationship with any girl on the team, it would be Ryohei. If anybody would have, I feel like if you're talking about this, if this was a BL, Ryohei would be the one that's not really in a BL relationship. Oddly enough, Ryohei is the one that would probably date the girl, which is funny. To me, anyway. It's just like, it's really cute how sweet he is. And so we should all appreciate competitions like this, where it's just every age bracket. There's some in the adult and senior brackets, too. I'm surprised, well, Masa's a coach, so he's not competing today. And then that's when Rin shows up. I love that Rin has such stepbrother vibes, right? He's like, oh, hey. I love that Masa's expression where he's like, Rin, what are you doing here? Like, it's very Seiya-like, actually. I love it. And Rin's like, I got my deadline done. He's like, look at you. He's like, I was able to come here. Seiya and the girls requested it. I'm going to be the team cameraman. I love that Masa's like, you invited him. You got this creep to come. It's super cute how uninterested he is. And Seiya's like, well, objectively, his pictures are really good. He may be kind of creepy, but he is a good photographer. Oh my god. And picture book author and illustrator Rin Takegawa. Interesting. I love that, where he's just an illustrator. He has like the heart with the little heart kiss coming out of it. And Masa's like, seriously? I love that Masa's like, are you kidding me? And Rin's like, yeah, my cards are kind of weird. I love they have such brother dynamics. It is amazing. It reminds me a bit of Kaido and Nanao, but it's so good. He's like, I'm fresh off my last deadline anyway. And then Masa's not afraid to use people for that. He's like, oh, you're off your deadline, so you're going to buy them dinner? Okay, cool. And you guys all enjoyed this free dinner that I gave you? Great. I'm going to need your help. Seiya's expression at the end was pitch perfect. We'll get to it. But yeah. So the girls all feel really good, like they're going to do well. Minato's jealous. He wants to be on the range. And then we have Saionji. She's a 7 Dan, a real pro. Everybody is surrounding her, like getting advice because she's just that good. It's great. And Ryohei is amazed that Minato was taught by her. Yeah, and Minato's like, I was just lucky that she said yes. And Seiya's like, she turned me away. I was like, she did. I don't know. I am curious why she turned Seiya away. I mean, I guess it was because she'd taken Shu on and she really just wanted one more kid. And maybe she saw that, like, if I invite one more and they invite one more, it's going to turn into a whole thing. And she's like, no. And I'm sure there's nothing malicious as to why she said no. It's just kind of funny that Seiya has never forgotten that. And he's like, I'm not bitter or anything. And then I was like, we're not going to talk anymore about that. I hope we can say hello later. And yeah, of course they did. And then I love the girls all getting ready and like they do their positions when they do the fist bumps. It's so cool. And they're talking about how amped they are. It's great. I love it. And then I love that she's watching them I guess she's one of the judges, maybe. It seems like she's one of the judges for the event. And Minato just, his eyes looking from the crowd as he's watching. And Ryohei's just like, you're hopeless. He's like, you are a hopeless kid. And Minato has no shame. Minato is so into Kyudo when it comes to that. He has no shame because he's just sitting there like imitating his stance and everything that he would do. And Masa is like, he doesn't even recognize Masa coming up. And he's like, do you wish you were out there? And he's like, yes, I do. I'm stuck working on the basics. And it's been a while since I've held a bow and arrow in my hands. I love that both Nanao and Ryohei are kind of nervous in that moment because they're like, what's he going to say? Is he going to say something that's going to keep him off the field? Like, they're both nervous. But then he says, all I want to do is get in front of the target and take shot after shot. Oh, and Seiya and Kaido are sitting next to each other. You all shipping them. The Kaido and Seiya fans are probably eating very well this season because now that ship has been pointed out to me, in this episode, they are next to each other. Okay, just for the record, we have in Minato's harem. If you ship Minato and Seiya together, I see it. I do. I see it. I kind of ship it myself. I would admittedly admit I'm more maybe of a Shu Minato shipper. Perhaps that's more kind of my vibe. I'm not an Kaido and Minato shipper, but I see it very much so. I see Seiya and Minato, and I kind of ship them. This episode really wants to ship Masa and Minato really hard, and I'm like, ooh, I'm not there yet, but I see you ship. But man, now that we've fully established that Kaido and Nanao are definitely cousins and definitely not shippable, it's like the show went all in on the Kaido and Seiya ship. Since we found out that Nanao and Kaido cannot be shipped romantically, they're like, so we're going to put Seiya and Kaido together a lot. And it's like, I'm here for it, but because he looks and says, but I won't. And Masa's like, good. He's like, if this is what it takes to make me and everyone else better, so be it. And I like that both Seiya and Kaido, they both smile at Minato. And Kaido's is very open and Seiya's just like, Like, God, I did not think that this show would go the Kaido and Seiya route. I thought it was going to be a crack ship, but no, they're really pairing them up. He says, I made a promise. And Masa's like, good. He's like, good, showing some maturity. He's like, is that so? And then I almost feel like Rin is looking at Masa being like, does he remind you of someone? I feel like Masa is relating to Minato in this moment, and Rin's kind of like looking at Masa like, I see it. Yeah, oh my gosh. It's like everybody's faces. Oh my gosh. And so then I love the idea that the girls during the competition, that she kept that scorebook showing the missed shots like as inspiration to her so that she would keep getting better. And I love just, again, Kiwani with the tiny little gestures where it shows like the girls, like Yuna coming in and like gripping her skirt and like that tiny little gesture and everything. You didn't have to do that, Kiwani. You didn't have to do it, but you did. And it makes it all the better for it. And then they go up to compete. And all the boys sitting there saying, nice shot. And them all saying that they can do it and having faith in one another. And Seo just being like, I can watch these two girls and know that they're... I love that Seo establishes that she's behind the girls all the way. What I liked was that Yuna said that Seo like gives her a spring forward. She like jumpstarts her, which is how I think we've all felt that Minato kind of does. Like, Seo actually sets the flow, even though she's the last to go. She keeps the flow going. And that's kind of how Minato goes for Kaido. So when at the regional tournament or at the qualifier it didn't work out, it was because of that flow not happening. It's interesting. And so then, then our boy from Kazuki shows up, talking about the girls. And I love that the girls talk up Seo. They're like, her shots flow, and she always has their back. I love it. I love that they each have the little animal. Like, Noah has the pink bear. which means that I like Noah has the pink bear, which means that it's cute. It's cute and girly, but it's tough. Like Noah can handle, like, I think that each of the animals kind of represent them, where Noah, she has the pink bear, so it seems like it's cute and feminine, but it also is like tough and is able to like strike back. I like that. I like that for Noah's character. Yuna has the bee, the bumblebee, and that's really cute. Like, it's also like very like quick and nimble, but can sting, right? It has some bite to it. And she's always been the one that whenever Now was like, my humble ladies, she's like, okay, can we stop? Like, she's the one that bites back, right? Same with Noah. And then Seo has the elephant, which is just kind of like a very reliable, sturdy animal that, you know, will not falter. It's kind of thing. Like, it's hard to take down. That is Seo, and that's how those girls view her. I love it. It's very representative. It's very cute. I like Kiwani, again, taking the time to like make those little choices. And then when Yuna says she's the last in our rotation, but it feels like she's right in front of me. I love that. And then they just talk so good about each other and getting the matching grips. It's so sweet. I love it. I love it. And they have like, they're getting their packs of arrows, and then they get 10 out of 12. But I love that Minato, whenever he sees them do like the last round and the air kind of flows around them, Minato, like, he gets so inspired in that moment. He's like, this is it. Yes. It's so good, right? It's so good. And then the cherry blossoms, like, just springing around them. Just that imagery, y'all. It's so good. I love that we see like Noah putting the sunscreen on. I love it. I love that we see these girls together being a team, setting an example for the boys, being like, okay, boys, here's how the teamwork is done. Here you are. Now get your acts together. Figure it out. It's really cute. I like it a lot. And then they end up getting third in the competition. Oh, it's great. And then the three girls. I like that, you know, the boys, whenever the competition's over, the boys all had that moment like, yeah. And for a second, I thought the girls would do that, but instead they're just so like, just decompressed, like, that was a lot of fun. Again, I like that this show, it doesn't necessarily subvert expectations about gender or whatever, but it just establishes that they're just no different than the guys. Like, they both have their moments of teamwork. They both like get along and have all these moments of friendship and talking with one another. It's just, it's comfort anime 101, right? And they end up taking third place. I like that. So that means like third place overall, right? So that's pretty darn good. Third place overall, that's not bad. No. I liked that. The fact that they did that good. It's awesome. And then the girls are like, one of us never missed. Oh, I like that, like, getting Seo. That's cute. Oh, that's really sweet. And like an excellent performance. I love Ryohei's like so excited for them. It's so sweet. It's very, very cute. And I love Yuna's like, keep them coming. Keep them compliments coming. And it's really cute. And that's when their teacher, Minato's teacher, shows up. Saionji sensei. For Tommy to call her a senpai. Yeah, Tommy sensei being like, hello, Saionji sensei. Or senpai. I love Ryohei's in the back with the little dog face. Like, ooh, who's this? Nice. And then Masa. Rin seems to know who it is. And Masa knows who it is, of course. And because she taught him as well. Takegawa-kun. And giving the girls congratulations. That's very sweet. But yeah, so she kind of says, you know, boys, these girls kind of did the thing you need to be doing. So I hope you were paying attention during this whole game. And Minato says that the teamwork is something we've had trouble with lately. And she's just kind of like, well, you've already been a team, so why are you having trouble? Like, what's the deal? And all of these Baka boys, they're like, what? She's like, you dunces, you did the thing back at the tournament when you defeated Kurosaki. What are you doing? Like, you already had that incredible Ikiai back then. They're like, no, that was Ikiai. You've already done it. And I love that they're all just looking at her like, really? And Masa's in the back being like, this is what I'm dealing with on a daily basis. It's great. She's like, being able to intentionally will yourself into such a state is what we call true ikigai. She's like, you need to be able to call forth that power of nakama at the tournament at will. That's what's going to make y'all go above and beyond at this point. Like, you need to be able to will it, right? I like that Ryohei's like, well, how do we do that? And she's like, my advice is to come free. You have to learn from Masa-san and reflect on it and find it out yourselves. I love it. I'm also realizing that their bags, that Minato's is green because all of his stuff is green. It's great. So the Hijiri Mori Gymnasium. Okay, so interesting. So that was where Minato's mom went to. So she actually was from around this area and went to the dojo around here. Okay. And so that's when she asked if Minato's been pulled off of the range. She's like, I heard from Shu. Oh, so Shu like went to her first and was like, Minato's distracted. Like, fun. It's like, I got so swept up watching Shu and someone else I know who shoots shaman style. And then he's like, it threw my whole form off. And she's like, shaman style. Which means it's pretty rare because, I mean, it's not something that you wouldn't just know an archer. And so she addresses what Minato's feeling. She's like, well, watching someone talented, it's easy to get swept up in their power and getting impressed by them. And Minato's like, yes, that's what I've been struggling with. He's like, that's exactly what it is. And I like that she just looks at him like, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. And then she says, before I taught you boys, I knew someone that shot shaman style. And just seeing Nikaido's teacher, seeing him like with the arrow showing him the most beautiful shaman shooting style. And Minato's just like, I love Minato's like surprise face. It's so cute. And then we see him in the garden. He had lost sight of his own form. His garden is shaped like an archery range. Oh, that's just hitting me that his garden is like a big archery range there. And Nikaido could practice shooting there, which would also explain like how Nikaido is totally fine with doing like makeshift archery ranges and everything because he's been taught on a makeshift archery range because his teacher can't probably leave very much because he's sick. Oh, okay. That adds another layer of why he wants to do it because it's like a tribute to him. Oh, come on now, show. Okay. He'd lost sight of his own form and came to me considering changing his very style. And she's like, no, it's too beautiful. You don't need to change it. Yeah, that looks so pretty. Yeah, the archery range is the garden. And Nikaido watching him. Oh my gosh. That got me. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. And he's like, did you take him under your wing? And she says, oh no. His form was so beautiful that it would have been a waste for me to try to change anything about it. Yeah, so I love that because she's like, I knew that I would want to change it because I wouldn't know how to help him with that style. So there's nothing I could have done. And that kind of makes sense now why Nikaido left Kurosaki, because I feel like the style he wanted to shoot because of his mentor, the coaches at Kurosaki are like, we can't help you with this. If you want to stay with Kurosaki, you're going to have to change to our style so we can teach you better. And he's just like, no, then I'll leave. That makes sense. Okay. Which there could have been a falling out with them. It could have been much worse than that. We don't know. But that all makes so much sense. The fact the garden is the archery range. Oh, that makes much more sense. Okay. All right. And from the OP, it looks like he's been taught by him for a while. Okay. So then, okay, like I said, this series, ever since Nanao and Kaido had their thing, the show is wanting to ship Kaido with Seiya a little bit more. It still wants to ship Seiya and Minato, like in this episode, Minato telling him the piece about his mom he's never told anybody. Still wants to ship Shu and Minato. I'm sure it's going to want to ship Nikaido and Minato. But this end moment here with Masa, where Masa's walking with the keys and everything, like just going back to his car, right? And then he looks over and sees Minato walking, and Minato like gets his stance and practices it. And then Masa sees him with the bow and arrow in his hand, like he can envision it. And it's perfect. And Masa's like, well, you showed me. Ah, y'all. Sure showed me. Masa's like, okay, not bad. You're ready to go. So then they make him the meal. They make the meal. I love it. He's like, this is a little gift from my big shot, fresh off his deadlines illustrator of a brother. Masa's so, again, that is like Seiya level of cutting, where Rin's just like, I'm an illustrator. I don't make that much. He's like, I don't make that much money. What are you doing, brother? Thanks for making me pay for the food. I love, and Kaido and Nanao talking. Ryohei's just enjoying the food, and Seiya and Minato talking. And he tells everybody to eat up. And Rin's like, don't mention it. I just bought all the food. So yakiniku. Yeah, they're like, it's so good. And I love that Yuna's like, I guess you can be useful sometimes after all, Rin. He's like, that's mean. I like that Rin's offended by it later. And he's telling Masa, he's like, they said that I was not useful. And Masa's like, they're teenage girls, dude. He's like, how can they treat me like that? And Masa's like, I mean, he's like, just think of it as a form of affection. Get over it. They're teenage girls. Get a thicker skin. And so the things at the club seemed rather tense since regionals. And that's when Yuna like she's like, yeah, it was tense, wasn't it? And she like looks over to Kaido and Nanao, and Kaido's just sitting there like, and Nanao's like, yeah, sorry about all that. That was our bad. We're fine. He's like, apologize, Kaido, you too. And he's like, sorry. And then Yuna's like, I don't care. I'm just mad that y'all got over it so fast. You guys didn't argue hardly at all. It's disappointing how fast it was smoothed out. And he's like, no. He's like, and I look at Nanao to ease things over. He's like, no. Look, we'll cheer you on for a good long while, as he's pouring her more of a drink. And she's like, yes, please. I love Yuna. May be my favorite of the girls. I like Noah and I like Seo, but Yuna's my favorite. I love her. She's like, that's the spirit. She's like, we're going to get in the next official tournament we can. And you boys better help out. And so then Rin saying that you finally relaxed and turned into a real deal teacher. And he's like, oh, a teacher, huh? And I like this moment too, where he's like, I started this whole job because I wanted to show up my grandpa. And he's like, I only cared about how much better I could get. And that's kind of the thing of him relating to Minato, is like, he understands where Minato's coming from, because he's like, that's kind of where I was at. He's like, I just wanted to get better than, he's like, he viewed his grandpa like Minato views Shu and Nikaido as someone to become better than. And he's like, I know exactly what that feels like to be kind of selfish like that and wanting to focus only on myself and not think of others. And he's like, I took this coaching job kind of for that reason. But he's like, as I've gone on and done this, he's like, that's not the case anymore. He says, these days, though, I enjoy watching the kids get better. And he's like, way more than I ever enjoyed getting better myself. That's it. Yeah, because I used to compete in speech, and now I'm helping to coach it. And that's it. Like, now I enjoy seeing the students that I work with get better themselves and improve. And it's no longer like, I think that's teaching in a nutshell. It's not making yourself better anymore. It's watching someone else get better than you could ever be, and seeing them blossom and seeing them, excel at something that maybe you excelled at yourself, maybe you didn't. And so it's like, that's the joy of it, is seeing someone else do so well. And that just like, oh, that touched my heart. Like that line from him. I was like, no, I'm living that right now, Masa. It's like, so good. I'm like, nope, that's it. That's the key. It like makes me want to cry. Like I'm getting teary eyed just thinking about it. And Rin being like, I'm glad to see my little brother all grown up. I like that Rin's the older one, and Rin's the older brother, and Moss is just like, it's like, don't be a jerk. It's cool because we usually don't see stepbrothers in anime like have a relationship like Rin and Masa. So it's cool that we see the two of them like come together like this. And so they're off to nationals next. And he's like, yes. And he's like, to Kazemai's coming victory. And he's like, to victory. Nice. So after everybody's ate, and then I like that Kaido is like, I am stuffed. Ryohei is like, I am stuffed too. Seiya is the last person eating. He's a slow eater, so he's the last one. And so then he's like, well, you boys sure enjoyed yourself, huh? So hope this was a good meal, huh? Masa's like, yes. I love Masa with his eyes closed. It's just like the most scheming. He's like, Masa in this moment is like Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. He's like Kakashi. He's like, Kakashi from Naruto. He's like Shigure from Fruits Basket. He is every like kind of shady mentor that's like, so you enjoyed that, right? Here's the catch. Like Urahara from Bleach. He's like, now tell me. It's like, have you ever heard the phrase, there's nothing as costly as a free gift? And the moment he says that, Seiya stops. And then Minato and the others are like, we don't understand. And Seiya's like, I love that Seiya's like, no. Seiya's like, you can't mean. He's like, you know in the back of Seiya's mind, he's like, it's too good to be true. All of this free food. There's no way. It's too good. So there must be a catch. And there is, right? He's like, yeah. I love that smile. He's like, well, you see, we have a summer festival here at the Yada Shrine. So everything we saw from that first episode where they're all dressed up, they're all working together, that is going to happen after Nationals. So that doesn't tell us how they're going to do. That doesn't give us a hint of how they're going to do in the tournament. They may win, they may lose, we don't know. But what it does tell us is that the 5 of them are all going to be in a good place by the end of the season. They're all going to be in a good place by the end of the season. So that is encouraging to know that there's not going to be all this angst and drama. They're like, don't worry, the story has a happy ending in terms of they're going to be in a good place. But I love these, like, we have this summer festival here at the Yada Shrine. One part of the festival includes some ceremonial archery. And then I love that Nanau's like, should have known. Ryohei's like, what are we doing? Minato's like, what are we doing? I'm interested. Kaido's like, oh. And Seiya's realized the most. He's just like, done. He's like, we need 5 young archers. Like, Seiya and Kaido are the most apprehensive, and Ryohei and Minato are the most curious, and Nanau's kind of right there in the middle, like, oh. And he's like, see, but the moment he says archers, Minato and Kaido kind of go, you want us to do it for you? And Seiya's just like, Seiya he knew. He's like, relax, it's not till after Nationals. And Seiya's like, I knew it. He's like, that yakiniku was good, right? He's like, he's like, he got us good. I love that Masa's like, And Seiya's like, I knew it. It was too good to be true. It's pretty fun, and we see the 5 outfits. Yes. So Minato's is obviously the green. Minato's is the green. There's 6 there, though, right? Minato's is the green. Kaido's will be the red. Blue is going to be... So wait, did Masa wear the white? Interesting. I can't remember. I have to go back to episode 1 and look. It sounds like a lot of work. And then he's like, oh, I've got new t-shirts for everyone. Summer Servant! At least they're blue. Like, white t-shirts are hard to wear because I'm always afraid I'm going to get them dirty. So I don't wear a lot of white because I don't want to get them stained. But blue, I love blue shirts. So I'm like, those are much more classy. He's like, look, I got new shirts. He's been hiding it with the apron the entire time. He knew what he was about to do. He knew he was going to whip that apron off and it was going to say Summer Servant and be like, what a troll. What a troll. And then everybody's like, yeah. I love that Ren's got the camera and he's like, yes. And Seiya's like, I hate it. Seiya doesn't say anything. But then Kaido's like, well, if you're going to wear that, so will I. And now it's like, of course you'd say that. I'm going to be wearing this on the day of. I'm not going to wear it on the day of. I'm the priest here. Aw. And then Masa says, oh, Minato, starting tomorrow, you can get back on the range. I love that delayed reaction where Minato's like, it's just like a delayed reaction where he's like, oh. And then he's like, oh, seriously? he's like, yes, your form's coming together. I figured you'd try to get out shooting when I wasn't looking. And he's like, but I didn't, but it looks like you stuck to the rules. He's like, I had to. It's not always easy to do things we have to. You did good to control yourself and stick at it, and you should be proud of that. And then he's like, okay. And I love Minato gets so excited. And he's like, yes. He's like, so can we go open the range now? And he's like, did you not hear me? He's like, I want to go out there now. And he's like, what did I just say? What did I just tell you? And he's like, that I can get back on the range. He's like, no, before that. And then he's trying to think. And I was like, what did you say? Seiya, his expression, Seiya is still not over the fact that they got played so hard. And he's like, Minato, he said starting tomorrow. It's so good. It's so good. He's like, starting tomorrow, Minato. And Minato's like, oh, really? He's like, don't do this to me, Masa-san. And he's like, I know how you feel, but you've made it this far already. So don't let your excitement throw your form off. That's why you're waiting till tomorrow. It's like, you gotta get some sleep first. And then I was like, okay, thank you. And then Fu's outside. Oh my God. So cute. So cute. And then we have the archery range and Minato is back ready to go. Ah, I love that smile. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. It's great. I absolutely love it so much. It's great. This episode was wonderful. I loved seeing our girls in action. I love that Minato's coming back on the range. Seiya's like, we got played. Everything about this episode was wonderful and wholesome and sweet. Very good indeed. I'm really excited for Nationals. So we got the Nationals tournament. I feel like the Summer Festival is going to be like the last episode of the season. It's going to be episode 13 is going to be the Summer Festival. I feel like that's going to be the last episode, the Summer Festival. So we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 episodes left. So we're halfway through to do Nationals. I feel like that's going to be the case. I mean, there's lots of time for like in between rounds. You know, you're going to have 2 days of competition at least. So you can have like episodes focusing on the days, episodes focusing on like the in-between rounds and the stuff happening there. There's no telling what kind of drama this series is going to give us, especially with Nikaido and his mentor. There's a lot of stuff. I feel like next episode, I don't know if we're immediately going to go to Nationals or if we're going to take an episode to kind of prep for it. I feel like we'll have at least an episode to prep and then the Rule of 8. See what happens there, but the Rule of 8 was great last season, so I don't know. But this episode was wonderful. I was so excited, so I hope you all were too. But I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm excited to hear your comments down below. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 7 of Tsurune.